What's going on, guys? Noah Jai from the Geek Week here, and we are back with another video, man. I just wanted to talk to you guys today because I saw something interesting online from the Walt Disney CEO. Bob Iger outlined a number of problems with the company, and one that stuck out to me is that he specifically said Marvel's TV expansion hurt the MCU's quality. And hey, Bob, I can't disagree with you there. You are absolutely right. But more so than that, I wanted to talk about the MCU specifically, why it's declined, because while he's right, quantity is definitely an issue. Too much of anything is bad for you, and I'll go in detail on that. But there's a lot of things wrong with the MCU, and more than just that in Disney. You could say the same with the Star Wars and what they've done with Lucasfilms, what I'm about to get into, but there's a lot more than just quantity for the decline in their products, and I wanted to get into that specifically with the MCU today. But it's no secret that the MCU's lost its flair since Infinity War. We should get into why that is. And of course, if you have a mass amount of mediocre films and show, instead of taking the time to just make one that's of quality, and you keep just producing and just scheduling, of course it's gonna decline. There's no mystery there. Too much of anything is bad for you. But let's just get into the obvious. One of the biggest things I always harp on in my reviews is writing, of course, right? The writing in the MCU right now is just god awful. It's just not good. I harp on this a lot because, bad writing specifically can and will destroy any project you're working on. Bad writing is just, you can't have it. That doesn't mean you have to have exceptional, stellar writing. You don't. I like to use some of my favorite storytellers in George Lucas and Akira Toriyama. I like using them a lot because while they're fantastic storytellers, they aren't very good writers. As far as dialogue goes, it's just not their thing, but they can use other things like their world building and even their character building through the actions and things that they do to tell a story, and they do it well. Yeah, if you have bad writing, it'll always stand out. Even with good acting, it's good acting can't even make up for bad writing in most cases. You look at the dialogue in Attack of the Clones, right? Natalie Portman is one of the best actresses of my generation. I mean, she can't bring some of those scenes with Hayden Christensen back to life. Those lines are, who wrote those? Yeah, my point being, you don't have to have Dark Knight level Christopher Nolan type writing in a superhero film. I would love that, don't get me wrong, I would love that, but you don't need that for it to be good, because I'd argue the MCU never had that great of writing. It was always very corny. The things they did well, they did exceptionally well, like character building. Every character should feel like they could exist outside of the plot of the story they're in. They should, and that was the point, right? The point of the MCU, it's the Marvel Cinematic Universe. All of these characters were supposed to exist outside of their movies and coincide with each other. But instead of feeling like a puzzle, they feel like opposing ends of a magnet. It's just, if they don't go, and without their films, it's just nothing. And even their films aren't interesting because of poor writing. Moving, and you know what, one more thing to say about the writing too is because it's not just it comes from the top. I should say it comes from the top because they had a lot of great direction in the earlier films as well. Jon Favreau did the Iron Mans. Now, because you're riding on the success doesn't mean you don't need to take those proper steps, right? You can't just, and the DCEU was great at this, where they're just throwing films at directors with little to no credentials, right? And even with the credentials they have, none in any sort of field near an action film or a superhero film. It's just I don't know. I have no idea why they thought it would work. They did the same thing with Star Wars, the newest Skywalker trilogy, where they had a competent director in J.J. Abrams start it, And then, we had 3 different directors, by the end of the trilogy. What are we even doing? Isn't this the same story? And I don't know. Some of the decisions come from the top. I can't blame them all purely on pen and pad. You have to be put in a good position to make a good story as well. So I do want to say that too. Next, obviously, guys, the acting is not good. The acting is not good. The acting was one of the biggest things that carried the MCU through. Obviously, performances from guys like Robert Downey, but even Hemsworth has been great in the Thor movies, playing his position as Thor. Tom Holland is pretty much what they're riding on right now, because I still think, and I will burn saying he's a fantastic Spider-Man, and I grew up throughout the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. I do like the first 2. I think the first 2 are good, very good, but I do think Tom Holland is a better Spider-Man. I do. Forgetting names now, but obviously Scarlett Johansson, Samuel L. Jackson, all great performances. Captain America, forgetting the actor's name, but fantastic. Absolutely fantastic acting that carried them through this as well. Now that they're transitioning into a new phase, it's the easy thing to say would be like, oh, there's too much superhero shit, and that's why we're bored of it. And that's just not the case. I've been infatuated with superhero shit my entire life. I'm almost 30. It's not too much of it. The problem is the quality of it. That's the problem. In the way that they introduce characters now that are supposed to take over for these characters that they took so much time. They're not just well acted. They took a lot of time to build those characters, not just within their films, but within the other films, because they all meshed together back then. Now they'll just try to introduce a new character within a film of a character you love and try to be like, oh, love this character too. They've done it several times now. What comes to mind? Doctor Strange 2 comes to mind with Chavez. Terrible acting, terrible writing. It was just a mess of a movie. Also, that goes back to the same from the top. I think he had 2 directors on that. Raimi was not the first director, I don't believe. And they try to just introduce you into her universe. Like, oh, okay, she's going to have her own thing now. Nobody wants to watch the Marvels. Nobody wants to watch it. You didn't make anybody want to watch it. They did the same thing with Ironheart was that Black Panther 2? Ironheart's I don't think could have been a great character, but you barely gave screen time, and the screen time you did was forced. And it's like, all right, now this person has a show, enjoy it, like it. I don't. They tried with Hawkeye's replacement. I forget her name. That show just wasn't good. I'm not gonna sit up here and act like that shit was good. It wasn't. It was the same sort of feel where it was like, oh, you love Hawkeye, right? Well, here's his replacement. And it's like, it don't work like that. Okay, it does not work like that. You have to earn, a following. You can't just expect it because you like this, you'll like that. It's just not the case. It's not the case. And then when the acting is poor and the writing is poor, even less so. And you see a fall off from that as well. And it's like, I fear for some of the things that I do like when they come over, because I don't think this ship will be righted. By the time X-Men and all that come over, I just don't think it will. I think they will. Never say never, but let's just keep going. Because one more thing with the acting. At the end of the day, with these MCU films, 98% of it is done in front of a green screen, right? So you're not moving really, and you're not in other environments really, and it's all CGI. Your acting, your facial expressions, the writing, all of this stuff is going to stand out so much more. So, you can't be... Don't tell... Like I said before, there's plenty of ways to tell a story. But, if you're going to have a story that is heavily plot reliant, where it doesn't have much character building, and it's more or less just a story that you're following, and the characters are just to aid the story, that could work if the story's good. If the plot is trash, it just doesn't work. Before when we had the whole Thanos Infinity Gauntlet storyline, which they started back in 2010 or whatever, maybe even 2008, honestly, with Iron Man, and just kind of slowly brought you into it, and all the movies are connecting to this story, you know, the plot is there, right? Even though the characters existed on their own and they did all that well, on top of that, they could have just been plain Jane with a story that was working like that, you know? Like, they could have kept the same boiler superhero shit we were used to, where it was just, this is what you get, this is the kind of movie it is, because that underlying storyline was so good. But on top of that, you had characters like Captain America who could exist in movie. All right, guys, I grew up a Marvel fanboy. Still am. Fucking hated Captain America. Dude, I have like maybe 2-3 Captain America comic books. Never been a fan, dude. Captain America, the MCU, specifically Winter Soldier, dude. Like, come on, dude. How are you not a fan? Like, how are you not a fan? Yeah, just a lot has gone wrong. And you know what? Another thing to be said too is the phases. I was just talking about how the whole thing meant something when we had the Thanos storyline in the background and all the phases were building up to Thanos and the Infinity Stones. I don't know why after Thanos we have to feel beholden to phases. Why do these movies have to come out in phases? Why do there have to be another thing? Like, you did it right. That doesn't mean there has to be another one. Just release the movies as they come out. Make good movies. Like, you know, if you feel like you could work towards another story, do it, but don't force it. You know, like, it just feels like it's Disney, right? It's big company shit. It's just like, all right, that was the good one. So like, bam, we're gonna have boom, this in April, this in May, this in July. You know, and it's just like, they're not good films. Slow it down. Star Wars had the same issue. And you know what? When I did my review on Andor, it was such a breath of fresh air. But at the same time, it's still like, okay, you got one right. Slow down. Slow down. Slow down. Take your time. Obviously, I did want to disclude the newest Guardians movie from this, assessment of the MCU post Infinity War, because I'm glad I'm talking about that, actually, because that's James Gunn. James Gunn is an exceptional artist, and now that he's with DC, I'm not sure people understand DC might actually take over right now. You guys aren't even ready for this. I've talked about Peacemaker. I've talked about how much I enjoyed those projects. But as much as I'm a Marvel fanboy, and always will be, the DC has the better stories to tell cinematically. They do. Especially because we're adults, right? We're adults. I mean, DC's not really for kids, but I mean, how many kids are paying attention to writing and moving, to character plot? The kids are looking for explosions. Those are things that won't last, you know, the test of time. When we talk about, oh, did you rewatch it? Of course not. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, good movies and quality, you have so much potential because of how far DC goes with its storytelling. And with James Gunn at the helm, guys, it's just, we could be in for some really good stuff in the near future, and I'm really looking forward to it, man. I'm really looking forward to it. Like, I didn't think this would happen. You would have asked me 5 years ago if I thought DC would be on the rise to take over. I'd have been like, fuck no. But dude, it's their time. It's their time, and I'm rooting for them, honestly. Like, don't get me wrong, we still have some Marvel to look forward to. Deadpool's been great. You know, I thought 1 and 2 were great. 3 with Hugh Jackman, that'll be fucking awesome. But that's Sony, right? They've got their own thing going, and they fucked up just about everything else. So, I don't know. We'll see. The one thing to take out of this video is I'm glad that it's not me, that I didn't really decide to make this video. Bob Iger inspired me to make this video, because I'm glad somebody from the top at Disney sees it too, right? I'm glad it's not just me yelling at the fucking computer screen like, enough is enough, you know? Like, who's asking for this? Relax. And he's like, yeah, too much is too much. And that's refreshing to see. But I don't know, guys. Get in the comments. Let me know what you think. I'd love to talk to you about it. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.